What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the DFS Model Breakdown. We're here to talk about the RBC Canadian Open, so let's get right into it. Decent field for the Canadian Open. It's more top-heavy than anything, but we got some big names in the field. It's going to be played at Hamilton Golf and Country Club, located in Ontario, Canada. Now, this event changes venues each and every year, so it hasn't been held at this course since 2019 when Rory McIlroy won. Before that, hadn't been held here since 2012. In terms of difficulty in those years, 21st and 32nd. So not too easy, not too difficult. The course has gone through some renovations since then. It's been lengthened a little bit. All of the greens were rebuilt. All the bunkers were rebuilt. The greens are now pure bent grass rather than a mix of bent and POA. So there are some small changes. I think it's going to play pretty similar to the last time we've seen it. A lot of the golfers have described this as more of a positional course off the tee. So I'm looking more at total driving than, distance. Maybe just strokes gained off the tee. I do think, there will be some less in driver holes. The average driving distance here in 2019 was only 280 yards. And the fairway is pretty narrow, 30 yards wide. The greens here, even though this was a pretty easy course, the greens only hit in regulation 62% of the time in 2019. So I do think scrambling is going to come into play this week, even if the course isn't overly difficult. It does look like there's going to be some very good weather on tap this week. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10 miles per hour is pretty much the worst wind that we're going to see. And that's, gusts, not just sustained winds. So it's hard to know, the perfect type of golfer, but I think everyone's in play this week. I think it's more of a second shot and in type of course. Birdie or better percentage, total driving, strokes gained approach. We should see a pretty equal distribution in terms of approach shots. So I was looking at what happened in 2019, and every bucket from 25 yards had something in the teens. So you're going to see a lot of 100 to 125, 125 to 150, 150 to 175. A nice mix of approach shot distributions or approach shot lengths. And that should just about do it for the course. There are 156 golfers in the field, so a really large field, and we should see fairly low 66 percentage unless the chalk just absolutely smashes. Now, in terms of the stats that I'm looking at this week, again, pretty small weights to off the tee. And then approach, I got it at 16% of the total model, which is a lot for sure. The expected is based on Data Golf's approach shot projections, and then I take that and compare those to the actual strokes gained from those different approach buckets. So it kind of gives us an idea of who should gain the most strokes on approach. Corey Connors number 1, Rory 2, Tom Kim 3, Shane Lowry 4, and Cam Young 5. Strokes gained around the green, I have it at 5%. I don't mind bumping this up a little bit. Putting with an emphasis on bent grass, and then we have birdie or better and bogey avoidance. Course history, I have it at 2%. You can just go ahead and put this as 0% if you don't, think that there's any merit to it. I really don't, but I put it at 2% just to have it in there a little bit, just to reward those guys that did play here, in 2012 and 2019. Course fit, I have it 2%. Short par 70s. So those are guys that have played the best on short par 70s over the last 2 years. Rory, Eric Cole, Charlie Hoffman, which is a very interesting name. Shane Lowry and Ches Reavie. Then you have your form, which is broken up. This is just to view how often golfers are playing and how well they've been playing. And then these are the actual weights that go into the model. So short term is broken up into the last 24 rounds or the last 3 months, whichever comes first. Midterms, the last 50 or last 6 months. And then long terms, the last 18 months or 100 rounds, whichever comes first. So as always, you can make adjustments to the model here. So if a guy's that you like isn't rating out as well as you want it to when you're uploading these ratings into Lineup HQ on RotoGrinders, then you can go ahead and manually bump guys up, which is nice. So somebody like Daniel Berger that I like this week, he doesn't necessarily project all that well. If you go down here, he is 22nd overall. So if I run Lineup HQ, I'll probably get a little bit of him in my MME builds, but I want more than that. So I would either go into Lineup HQ, bump up the minimum percentage, or just give him a manual boost here, maybe an 8% boost, or maybe a 5% boost. Then all of a sudden he's up to 17, plus 4 in the ranks, and then his point per dollar rating is a little bit better as well. So let's start at the top. We'll talk through some of the player pool, and then we will get out of here. As always, we'd love to have you join RG Premium if you would like to. A lot of good content, including this model. You can download it, you can customize it. the expert survey, the GPP article, my core plays article, the ownership projections, lineup HQ, the optimizer, all that stuff comes with RG Premium. And if not, thanks for watching these videos. Hit the thumbs up button. Appreciate it. Leave a comment if you want. I'll try to get to those whenever I can. And join RG Discord. A lot of fun in there. Just talking golf and sweating lineups together. Okay, at the very top, you have Rory McIlroy. Tough decision for me this week. He's kind of getting the Scottie Scheffler treatment in terms of the price, the odds, the ownership. I don't think he has as high of a floor as Scottie Scheffler does. He's actually finished outside of the top 20 in 6 of his last 10 starts. But I mean, he's obviously won here before. He's a great play. I just worry about the ownership. Maybe this number comes down by the time lineups lock, but I don't necessarily love the 6Ks, and I really like the 9Ks. So I'm kind of leaning towards a balanced build and single entry, and then I'm probably going to be underweight on the field when it comes to Rory and MME, but we'll see how that works out. Noren is number 2 in the model, who is my favorite play of the week. 17 straight made cuts, 8 straight top 30 finishes. He's gaining strokes in all facets. I really think a win is going to come soon if he continues to play this well. I actually bet him outright this week, and when I was writing him up, I was looking at his DP World Tour stuff. He's won 10 times on the DP World Tour. It's time for him to get his first PGA Tour win, especially with how well he has been playing. Tigala, again, I don't know what courses are best for Tigala. He just seems to, randomly pop for top 10 finishes. Don't have anything against him here, but don't necessarily love the price point. I do like Tommy Fleetwood. Nearly won this event last year, lost to Nick Taylor in that playoff. That was a different course, obviously, but he's one of those guys that tends to play these shorter courses well. Really good scrambler, really good iron player. Hits a lot of fairways. So he's probably my second favorite play above 10K. And then Lowry coming off of the T6. I think that is going to, get people to click his name, but if you look at the stats, he gained over 9 strokes putting, and the ball striking just wasn't very good. And if you look at his numbers, he is not a good putter. So I wouldn't necessarily expect that to happen again, although he did finish second here in 2019. That's just going to make his ownership even higher. So that worries me a little bit. Corey Connors, 9,500, great play. My favorite Canadian for the Canadian Open. He's been awesome recently. He's gained 9.7 and 9.5 strokes. It's supposed to say ball striking. He has not gained that many strokes putting. I will fix that when I upload the model. And then we have Cam Young at 30%. Man, he just hasn't been great. I mean, he'll pop here and there. I do like his upside. I think he can definitely win this week, but I don't necessarily think it's the best course fit for him where you take driver out of his hands. I love Adam Scott. So he's had top 30 finishes in 8 of his last 11 starts. Similar to Noren, he's gaining strokes in all facets. He just needs to put it all together, and I think he can contend. Aaron Rai projects really well for me. Akshay projects well, but he does worry me. The driver's gone, little off the mark, I would say, the last few weeks, and missed back-to-back cuts. So after his win, his form has kind of tailed off a little bit. Thompson's been playing well. I think he makes a lot of sense. Hubbard, anytime you get him on these shorter courses, I think he makes some sense. He's made 14 straight cuts. So if you're looking for a safe guy in the 7s, he's one of my favorites. Maverick McNeely bet him outright this week. So he's been very consistent this season. A lot of top 40 finishes. The upside just hasn't been there because the irons haven't been very good. But 3 of the last 4 starts, he's gained at least 1 stroke putting. At least 1.6 strokes on approach. So I do think he is viable this week. Not a ton of interest in Burns. Keith Mitchell was looking at this today. He's gained strokes off the tee in 10 straight. He's gained strokes on approach in 10 straight. And the short game is just a disaster. So if you do think short game matters this week, that does worry me for Keith Mitchell. Tom Kim's been playing a little bit better, but I mean the irons just still aren't what they were a couple years ago. So don't have a ton of interest there. Kim's kind of fallen off a little bit, but he does project well. I do like Ben Griffin. So he missed a cut on the number last week. He was in pretty good form before that. He's one of those guys that plays these shorter courses a lot better than the longer ones. Hughes, I'm going to have some Hughes in tournaments. He can just pop with the short game. EVR, no strong take there. I do like Berger quite a bit. Playing a little bit better. 4 straight made cuts. If you look at his ball striking numbers, he's gained 4.7 and 3.4 strokes ball striking over the last 2 events. So that's kind of trending up long term. I mean, excellent on par 70s. Mac Meisner, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but the model loved him last week. I didn't listen to the model. He finished T5. Could have really used that in my builds. Look at his stats. I mean, Total driving is not great, but good on approach, good around the green, good putting. You know, I mentioned this is a second shot and in type of course, so I do think he makes some sense at 6,500. Højgaard's got the talent. The form hasn't been there, but if you look at the talent in the lower sevens, he's definitely, you know, one of the top guys there. Looking at Nate Lashley, I mean, he has missed 7 of his last 10 cuts, but I believe 5 or 6 of them have been on the number. So he's just very close. And when he does make the cut, he tends to post a lot of top 20 finishes. One of my favorite value plays of the week. I'll have some Sig. See if there's anyone else. I'll have some Justin Lower. He's kind of, you know, been playing well, rattled off 4 top 30s in his last 5 starts. You know, Hadwin just feels overpriced. He did play well here the last time it was played here. He is Canadian. He's got that angle going for him, but 8,512% just feels a little too high for me. Let's go ahead and sort by the rating per dollar columns for each site, and then we'll get out of here. So again, Lashley, Meisner, Bryce Garnett. He picked up a win earlier. I think it was at the Puerto Rico. Yeah, gained 7.9 strokes to degree at the PGA Championship. So a guy you might want to look at 6,100. But again, if you're not playing Rory, you probably don't need to go down into the 6s. If you start with, you know, Connors, Noren, Adam Scott, you don't really need to dip down that low. And check out FanDuel real quick, see if there's anybody that stands out over there. Again, Noren, a little bit cheaper over there relative to his FanDuel or his DraftKings price. Hubbard, Thompson, Rye, Gim. Yeah, we've talked about all of them. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will circle back on Wednesday and try to get to those. And yeah, I'm out of here. Best luck at the RBC Canadian Open. We'll see you back next week for the Memorial Tournament, which is always one of my favorites. Good luck, everybody.